Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Susan.
Thank you for inviting me to your lovely home. I'm President Susan Mirabana, for those who are listening, and today I'm with past President and Rotarian Arun Devani. Arun, tell us a little bit about yourself, your early childhood, and where you grew up.
So I grew up in Nairobi, my primary school, secondary school. It's only after secondary school that I went to United Kingdom first to do the A levels, then my bachelor's and master's. Many people don't realize I'm a pharmacist, but I did my master's in pharmaceutical technology, which is manufacturing side of the pharmaceuticals. I lost my father when I was 14. So to large extent, it was my mother and my elder brother who took a lot of pain to make sure I was educated. And people, just for members' information, that was a very difficult period for my mother and my brother, because even to send 25 pounds, you're talking of now years around 1960, from 62 onwards, was not easy. And one of the things I learned in my first and second year as a student in England was how to be frugal, how to be careful with my money, for simple reason. Instead of getting 12 installments of 25 pounds a month to sustain, family could only send me maybe 7, maybe 8, and I didn't know which month I would not get. So those were the very formative years in young men's life. 62, I would be 17 years of age, and so on. So that's when you learn that, your holidays, you're not going to waste it, you're going to find just some jobs. My first job was with Fortis restaurants, and I was a vegetarian at that time. I changed later on. But I used to make hamburgers and omelets, and espresso coffees and all the coffees and so on. Then money was not good, but you got a little bit to eat at breakfast and lunch, so it wasn't too bad. Second year, I said, I need a little more money, so I worked in a laundry. And I don't know how many people have worked. Now you have to again go back, as I said, 50-something years back. And they put me in a place where you have these hot steaming shits coming out, and then two of you pull it on two different ends, and it goes through the roller. First it dries, and then a little bit of starch, and then folds it and comes out. So it was hot and humid. My third big job over there, I said, money is good, but not good enough, because you had to always make a provision that you didn't get for 2 months. So in the third year, I worked in a bakery, night shift. So night shift would start from 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning, handling hot loaf coming out of the ovens. So that set the tone, and I always wanted to be a pharmacist from the age of 14, 15, because my elder brother was a very fantastic entrepreneur. He changed the family business from just small dukkawalas to manufacturing different things and so on. Started with cosmetics, and cosmetic had creams and hair oils and so on. So that is the very formative years from the home side, in the sense that I started getting the instinct of being businessman, and I suppose also it runs in our family and the community that we come from, that most of us after a certain time want to be an independent businessman rather than just being employed. Right, so then as I said, I did my A levels in Bournemouth. Nice holiday resort, but I had very little time to socialize because I didn't have money in my pocket. It sounds a little funny, but I didn't even have money to be with my friends on Saturday night because they would have 2 or 3 beers, and I didn't have enough money. So you just keep to yourself and 1 or 2 other friends. But there were other people who were suffering as much as I were. After finishing my A-levels, I went to University of Wales, Cardiff, to do my bachelor's. That was a 3-year program. Then I worked with Glaxo Laboratory in London, North London, as one of their research chemists. The products I worked on were steroids used for eye drops, ointments, surface of your skin, and so on. And that's when I decided I wanted to do masters. I finished my masters at University of London, Chelsea College of Technology. And as soon as I finished, there was a pressure from the family that I should come and join the family business.
It looks like your family shaped the discipline that you had as a young man in the UK, in Bournemouth, where Chu is from. So my husband is from that area, very familiar for us.
Oh, you're from Hampshire.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then obviously, being focused to do your first degree and your second degree and all that. And I know that discipline is going to come in our conversation again when we talk about your life afterwards. But now, just take us to you coming back to Nairobi. Why did your family want you back? Obviously, you had your degrees and they wanted you to bring that back to Kenya, I guess. But what was the reason they wanted you back? Because most families want to keep their children in the UK.
That was a different era altogether, where families would send their siblings so that they come back with more education and help them improve their business and make it much bigger and larger. It's only in last 15 years or 20 years, or call it Moi era, where economically things became very difficult. There became a period where people of Indian origin were slightly discriminated because they passed a lot of laws in the country to say, like say for example, university, they would only take less than X% of students which are of not African origin. Also in terms of working environment, they created things like work permits. There was this very difficult period where they even wanted to know how many non-indigenous people you employ. But that came a bit later on. So the tradition in our family was that whoever goes for education comes back home, joins the family business and tries to take them to a higher level. So as soon as I finished my masters, there was a lot of pressure on me to come back. The pull to stay in England was that's when I had met Ila. Okay, so
Devani,
it has played a role in my my life. So I'm raising the subject now. Yes, I came back. I joined the family business, and I think I made a significant contribution.
So what happened? Sorry, what happened? You had met your lovely wife, Ila, and you were in the UK. You were studying, did your master's working?
She was doing her accountancy, chartered accountancy.
Yes.
And with the family pressure, I came back. So while I was working here, my heart was somewhere else. But that also played a small role. So I worked with the family, and I would like to believe I made a significant contribution. And that's where I got a touch of business in East Africa. Family business, at that time, my father, when he had expired, had left 10% of the business. I gave it to my mother for 1 shilling, and I went back to England.
Yes.
My heart was there.
Yeah, your heart was there, and you're successfully
Right.
doing
So I
business
landed
here.
in London with only a couple of £100, and being a recognized pharmacist, I managed to get a job with Boots immediately, while I was sorting out my mind and what to do. And that's when we decided to get engaged. And we only came to Kenya to get married, and the whole idea was to then go back to England and settle down. But whilst I was here, I bumped into a friend, and he knew I was ambitious. I always wanted to have my own business. He was ambitious. So he turns around and said, Arun, I am wasting my time after, he had also done masters, just working for someone. And you are going to just stay in England for maybe Boots or someone else. So we scratched our head, and within 5 minutes we said, look, we could start manufacturing business in Kenya. Question was, I said, many, but all I have, my total saving in life is, including the one in England, was about 28,000 Kenya shillings. So he hugs me, he said, I got 30,000 shillings.
Slightly more. It's just amazing to hear that confidence and boldness that you had at that time in your life. Because I know growing up, how our parents really, and most people would say, valued, being employed because you're guaranteed of a salary. But the fact that you were bold and your friend was bold for you to start a business at that time, and you had good jobs, and especially in England. And there's obviously an element of passion, considering you had come from a background of pharmaceuticals and you had probably seen a gap in the market. So there was an opportunity, but you didn't think too much about all these other things. There was passion that obviously drove the both of you, and trust, because trust is a really big thing. And the hard work that you talked about in discipline earlier when you were in the UK again comes to play, because I think some of us in our generation and the younger generation, the Gen Zs and the millennials, think of the quick money, quick making schemes with business, and business is more of hard work, discipline. Passion plays a huge role, and I can tell the passion from your face and your smile, from your business. I myself run a business of stars, and with my husband, and passion is one of the things that drives us. So I know, and I hope people identify with what you're talking about right now, because I have identified with that. How did you become a Rotarian? Who invited you? Did you walk in? Could you paint the picture of
Yes.
what you remember?
Let's start with the Round Table first. Round Table is a young men's club, and we would meet every 2 weeks. It would be a fun evening, but it also gets very much involved in service, fundraising and service. Some very exciting projects were going on at that time: pedal car race, pushing pram from Nairobi to Mombasa, and for every mileage you get people to donate you money. Ring Us Up program over Christmas for 10 days, 24 hours. KBC would give us the slot and would play songs of people's choice, and they would pledge money. And of course, over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's, people pledge very high sum of money and so on. So the instinct of service and fundraising came to me from round tables.
Okay.
And when I was invited into club by no other than Yusuf Kodwawala.
Yes.
He was a family friend. He was a surgeon. He was very close to one of my brothers. And then that's when he said, Arun, have you ever thought of Rotary? And I'm going to tell you something which is equally important. And I said yes, because when you are in round table, you hear that when you're wheeled out, Rotary is the next climb, because
Yes.
Rotarians would literally wait for you to be wheeled out because they knew with past experiences that they didn't have to talk to you about service and fundraising. Okay. So I said yes. But then he said it's not as simple as that. So he took me to a couple of meetings and then he said, he was the chairman of the membership committee. He said, I have to interview you. And I tell you, that interview was tough.
Wow.
All right. And that's when I learned. Later on, when we discussed, when I was head of the membership committee, I adopted a very similar stance because we've found out that a lot of members, a lot of individuals want to become a Rotarian more for social reason, very often for business connection reasons, or stepping stone in their personal careers, and they didn't know really what service was, what commitment to Rotary was. So he grilled me, and then I was made a Rotarian. And first thing they do is he said, Arun, you are a member of the community service responsible for fundraising. Okay.
Now, there's something I want to talk about with you, and it's the korogas. Now, if you people don't know, Arun Devani is the master of korogas, and there's a recipe I'm trying to get off him for fish. So, very early on in my Rotary years, I was fortunate to eat your delicious food, and it's not a lie because you see them making the food, and Arun is the master. Tell us about your korogas and why we did them in Rotary, what that meant in terms of bringing Rotarians and families together.
It's not original, but as you perhaps have already heard, koroga groups have existed for almost 100 years. It all started, if you like to go back in the history, is when in Kenya was a colony, and let's say they wanted to set up some construction project in, for the sake of argument, Nanyuki. So what they would do is take, at that time the skilled people were mainly Asians. They would take them there and house them, and the project would start. But the men who would go there, and it used to be mainly men, they would leave their family behind because those were the economical and circumstances, and so on, because your wife is in Nairobi, school children are going to the school, so you can't disrupt them. So you would go there for maybe a year or 2 years and so on. So men in the evening, what would they do? Every day they get tired, food cooked by a maid. So occasionally people would say, look, I'll cook X, Y, Z, and we'll all share it and so on. So that culture started there. Most of us came from a family which were vegetarian. You wouldn't be allowed to cook non-vegetarian at home. So you 10, 12, 15 of you would get together. 1 or 2 of you would start cooking, have the passion, and have a couple of beers and have a dinner. So I learned that one. And I found Karoga to be a great fellowship. So I found it would bring the Rotarians much closer. And it just took off, and it's become popular in our club.
It is. It's popular, and I think food, music, culture really has a way of bringing people together, especially food. And if it's delicious, I've had some of the most delicious food during the Korogas, and mostly when you're there, and I was not trying to steal, but like just getting close to the very delicious
I'll share
fish.
The fish recipe with you one of these days.
Yeah. So that's really good. You talk about the Rotary Fellowship, and that's where we build our trust together, because sometimes we work on projects with a lot of funds, and for us to trust each other we need to know each other, and these fellowships also bring us closer. So we're coming to the end of our session. I'd like to at least talk about the project you're involved with preserving our environment, growing of trees. This is happening in Konza. Tell us why this project is dear to you, what it means, and how we can do more as Rotarians, as Rotaractors, as interactors to keep this project alive.
Once you are a Rotarian, you're always observing the difficulties or the challenges that we all are incurring, not necessarily only in Kenya, but the world. And the number of projects, I've been involved in a number of projects, but you mentioned about camps and so on. This was originally started by Dr. Manu Chandaria and so on, but then time came when it died because they didn't have the funds. And a lot of compliments to Rotarian and One Love. She met me at Dinesh Kapila's mother's funeral and brought the subject, and I just couldn't resist it. Oh, just for money you are not doing the project? So I'll take care of the money side. And that's how I got back into that one. Fortunately, we have some family trust, but we also have some goodwill in the community where from time to time we are able to raise funds, especially if it's a good project. When the donor feels comfortable that his money is not being wasted and he gets accountability and he can see for himself, what we find is every Kenyan has a soft heart. Where he is worried is whether his money is going to be wasted or stolen or eaten. When they get comfortable, they will always contribute a small percentage of their income or saving for the project. And I strongly believe in that one. And Rotary gives a very good platform. Like Eric said, 98% of the money is used, maybe 2% is used for administration.
The last three things you say really, really touch me. One is obviously the iCamp, which has been running for years, for more than 40 years. We take our telescopes and give people views of the sky enhanced, using our vocations as Rotarians to enhance communities. And then you talk about the tree planting and, just looking at how fragile our planet is. I've not been to space, but we are fortunate to have met astronauts who've actually looked at our planet, and they come back with the passion to protect it. And, having, you and Dr. Manu keen to, preserve and do the much you can to protect it, but also bringing out the younger generation, our children, who are going to inherit this planet, to be part of that cause is a game thing. And then the last when you talk about the solar panels, you're harvesting energy from the sun. It's green and it's good. It's good for the environment. So all those things just make me excited. And I know Chu, who's here, is dying to say something. So I'm so grateful for you to open up your home to us and to invite us into your space and to share all your stories. There's so much more I'd like to ask you. But, time, I have to respect your time, and you also have to get back to work. But before we leave, I'd like to ask you to share with us your favorite song, movie or book.
I think I'll just give you my song, and it's the Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World."
Perfect.
Okay. I'm a very poor singer, but that little song hits me, and I keep the family going with it. So.
It's a
Now,
beautiful...
books, I've read so many and so on. The other day I was in a second-hand bookshop in California. My daughter is in Menlo Park. And I picked a book on Buddhism. and I only read few pages, and I think I'm happy to share the philosophy behind that one. First thing it says is nothing is permanent. Everything will change. What is the second thing it says? The second thing is time is not constant, it will pass. One of the important things behind that one, which I would like members and others to perhaps learn is, yes, we are going through economical difficult period in Kenya, but it will pass. That time will also pass. So it's very comforting, because few weeks ago when I was involved in one discussion, there was a panic when the prices of petrol and taxation and goes. But when you're going through a difficult time, you have to take difficult decisions. And if it was just a family, and I've been through that period myself, business is never steady, it's always ups and downs. You should be ready to sell family jewels just to pass that period. Okay. And the third thing it says is never lose hope. Never lose hope. Don't stop making an effort. It may take years sometimes before you see the fruit of it, but it's important you continue. If you believe in something, just continue it. Sooner or later, you get the reward for it.
Very powerful message. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.
Past President Arun Devani. And I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing you at our Rotary meetings. You're a passionate Rotarian. You're a successful businessman, and you really inspire so many Rotarians and other young people. So thank you so much.
And I have a wife who feeds me well.